Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Quite well.
Good.
You're looking all settled into your office down there?
Oh, I'm in my office up here.
Then that would explain the all settled in then.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our 2021 legislative breakfast. My name's Tim Flener. I'm with Erie Bank, and I'm the board president for the Lake County Development Council. We're really excited and appreciate everyone taking the time this morning. We have an excellent group of panelists and very excited to hear what they have to say. So I'd like to turn it over to our executive director of the Development Council, Sarah Bales, and let Sarah take it from here.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Legislative Breakfast. My name is Sarah Bales, and I am the Executive Director of the Lake County Development Council. We're very thankful to have all of you here today. Although we're virtual, last year we had to cancel 2 weeks before, so we're very happy to host you guys today. I would first like to thank Lake Tran for hosting us today. We have our great friend and board member, Julia Schick, with us on site for assistance, so thank you to Lake Tran. I would also like to thank our sponsors. Without all of you, the Lake County Development Council's mission would not be complete. Today's event sponsors are as follows: Team Neo and Jobs Ohio, Universal Metal Products, Blackbird Digital, Lake Health, Lakeland Construction Group, Erie Bank, Leadership Lake County, Miko, Lake Tran, Lake Erie College, the Willoughby Western Lake County Chamber of Commerce, Jonathan S. Mace of Shelter Insurance, and lastly, Dworkin and Bernstein. This morning's agenda will kickstart at 8:35 with our local officials. At 8:45, we will bring on our state officials, followed by U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown and Congressman David Joyce from 9 to 9:15. At 9:15, we will open up the floor for last-minute questions and remarks. Please send your questions through our Q&A of this Zoom meeting. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our moderator of today's event, Elfie Roman. She is the superintendent of the Lake County Board of Development, Disabilities, and Deepwood. She has been an employee there since 1979 and has been the superintendent since 1996. Thank you, Elfie, for stepping in last minute, as unfortunately we could not have Dr. Brian Posner join us this morning. Elfie, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. It's an honor to be here this morning with this esteemed panel of legislators who represent our Lake County at the local, state, and federal levels. And to maximize our time, without further ado, let's delve right into our local perspectives offered by our Lake County commissioners. Today we have with us Lake County Commissioner John Hamercheck. Commissioner Hamercheck currently serves as president of our Board of Commissioners. His first term commenced on January 3rd of 2017, and he's been reelected to a second term that commenced on January 3rd of 2021. Also with us is Lake County Commissioner John Pletschnik. John was appointed as Lake County Commissioner in February of 2021. He is a professor at Cleveland Marshall College of Law, where he's taught tax law for over a decade. Not with us today is Commissioner Ron Young, but he is certainly in our thoughts and prayers. So commissioners, we have received a lot of questions about our lakefront pertaining to erosion, economic development, and protecting Lake Erie. What do you think the county is doing to preserve and capitalize on our largest natural asset?
Well, if I could just dive in on that one, no puns intended. We have established the single largest shoreline improvement district in the state of Ohio. We're taking full advantage of that. The county is backing it financially, and we've worked very closely with our noting and bonding service to put this program in place to be able to help our residents and businesses along the lakeshore.
If I could jump in as well, one of the most exciting briefings that I got right after my appointment was with the Lake Metro Parks, as we saw how many years of planning are finally coming together to to really connect some of our most popular locations on the lakefront. It's a partnership, of course, with the county, the metro parks, the Port Authority, with the hope that we can use recreation and the beauty of Lake Erie to bring people to the shoreline. And instead of taking the attitude, if they build it, they will come. If we bring people, businesses will be built. I think that's the better attitude and the better approach. And when you have metro parks that on an annual basis bring in more than the entire population of Lake County, more than 230,000 people, and you start to connect them with shoreline paths, you really have something exciting. A business wants to be in a place with that kind of traffic and spending power. And I think we're finally going to see that lakefront economic development come out of that project, which I'll say is only possible with a close partnership with our state officials and our federal officials. I look forward to hearing from them later. But President Hamercheck has really pioneered the way to make Lake County really a destination for state and federal funds rather than a donor county. And I think that's one of the most important things to emphasize. We want to bring the money and the jobs and the opportunity to Lake County. And John has been very aggressive and very successful in doing that. And I want to follow in those footsteps.
As you touched on the economic development, how do you see manufacturing growing in Lake County and the number of available manufacturing and warehousing facilities to meet the demand for companies looking to move into Lake County?
Well, we're very fortunate that we have a strong manufacturing base here in Lake County, and we have a great partnership with Lake Tran. Recently, Lake Tran worked with the commissioners, businesses, the other municipalities within the county, and have established new bus routes to align our employers and our workforce. So we're trying to tap into those people who may not have a reliable means of transportation, but are willing and able to work, particularly along the Tyler Boulevard corridor in Menor. So that's just one example, but we also continue to offer incentives through our workforce development program, which we've revamped over the last few years. And we're working very closely with Job and Family Services also to make as many workers available to our manufacturers and employers in general. Those are all very important things, and we've seen a high degree of success. Basically, let's compare our unemployment rates in Lake County to that of Ohio in general. We're performing very well in the city of Menor. They're a major manufacturing hub, and their unemployment, I believe, is the lowest in the county. So those are just a couple of examples.
Success builds success, and we're certainly blessed to start with a very strong manufacturing base centered in Mentor, but really across the county. We have manufacturers from one side to the other, from Willoughby to the east. And so that gives us an advantage from the get-go because manufacturers feed off each other. Many of them build parts that are incorporated into designs and products that other manufacturers in Mentor use. John and I actually attended a ribbon cutting for a manufacturer that just joined us from Cuyahoga County last week. So we're seeing that continued growth because we've kept taxes low, because both local and city officials have provided tax incentives and support. We're continuing to build on that manufacturing base. And it's exciting to see. It really is one of the strongest economic drivers in Lake County, and it's still growing.
Okay, some of the members of the Lake County Development Council are certified minority-owned business enterprises. Are there any programs in place for MBEs?
Specifically, I can't speak to that, but I can tell you as the at-large member of the NAACP branch here in Lake County, I know we're very proactively looking at leveling the playing field and rising everyone in Lake County up. So there's a number of opportunities in general, but specifically, I can't speak to that.
Okay, no surprise. We've had questions come in about the COVID year that we've all experienced, and significantly that our small businesses have suffered during this recession because of COVID. What programs are in place in Lake County to help support small businesses?
Well, I can say from the beginning, we did everything within reason to mitigate the situation. We worked very closely with our health district and the state of Ohio as far as procedures and protocols. We've been very blessed that our Lake County General Health District has been so proactive and making maximum effort to take full advantage of local control. We've also been very fortunate to be working with Lake Health, University Hospitals, and the Cleveland Clinic, again, to make sure we have a solid foundation, but specific to small businesses, in addition to making sure that they're regulatorily safe. That's a mouthful, by the way. We have been working very close on a grant loan program hosted by the commissioners, $20,000 loan program with a forgivable component. We also have a $5,000 grant program for small businesses. And we've been very, very active and very assertive in trying to get that out into the community. And we've had a great response, and we've replenished that bucket, if you will. I believe we're on our third round of funding that program.
If I could follow on, at our commissioners meeting yesterday morning, we actually took the first steps to begin a rental assistance program related to impact from COVID-19. And we're really proud of our staff because they were able to win a nearly $7 million grant to fund this program, which will go directly to Lake County residents. We're still in the early stages. We're establishing the administration of it, but we voted to start that process yesterday morning, and we continue to be aggressive in reaching out for federal and state resources because the money will be spent. The bills are passed, the relief acts are passed. The question is what counties, what municipalities will get the benefit of them. And John and I and Ron are very committed to making sure that Lake County gets our fair share. And if we could get more than our fair share, I think we take it too. But we've been very aggressive, and to see our staff pull in another $7 million grant for COVID relief, I think that's pretty remarkable.
Sorry about that.
have lost
We
your
just
audio.
have a few more minutes in our session here. Are there any closing comments you'd like to add?
I would like to mention our colleague Ron Young, battling leukemia, recently had a bone marrow transplant, and I can assure everyone that Ron has been meeting his statutory requirements as he serves the people of Lake County. Ron communicates with us regularly, and I don't believe he's missed a single meeting. So he's always engaged. He's had some very strained and difficult meetings dealing with the pain and the side effects of the bone marrow transplant. But I can assure you he is coming along. He is a servant of the people, and add in there. Thank you for that opportunity.
Well, for my part, I would just close by saying it's been an honor to work with Commissioner Hammercheck, Commissioner Young, and Ron has certainly been an example of self-sacrifice as he continues to serve even through his surgery in these difficult periods. And I'm hoping to take that example of hard work and apply it as I go forward as the newest commissioner. It's been an exciting opportunity to serve with two such great men.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your insights. And we are now going to switch to our panel of state representatives. And yes, our local commissioners will be available at 9:15 again for any wrap-up questions or comments. Thank you, guys. Okay, for our state representatives. Oh,
Senator Cirino and then state
bear with us while we're getting some technical issues worked out.
got him.
Okay. All right, welcome our state representatives, and we're very pleased to have with us today Ohio Senator Jerry Cirino. Senator Cirino is in his first term in the Ohio Senate. He represents the 18th District, representing the people of Portage County, portions of Lake and Geauga counties. Prior to becoming a state senator, Senator Cirino served as one of our Lake County commissioners. Also with us is Senator Kenny Yuko. Kenny Yuko is the Senate Minority Leader, and he entered the state legislature as a representative from 2005 to 2013, and has then moved on to the Ohio Senate in 2015, where he has served as the Senate Minority Leader since 2017. Also with us is State Representative Dan Troy, who represents Ohio's 60th House District, which covers the cities of Eastlake, Mentor-on-the-Lake, Paynesville, Wickliffe, Willoughby, Willowick, Mentor, Ward 4, the villages of Fairport Harbor, Grand River, Lakeline, Timberlake, and a portion of Paynesville Township. Prior to his current term as state representative, Dan Troy also served as our Lake County Commissioner for 20 years. And with us also is State Representative Jamie Callender, who is in his second term in the Ohio House of Representatives and represents the 61st House District, which is the eastern portion of Lake County. Okay, gentlemen, welcome. And we've got a lot of questions for you that have come in. For all of you, what is your position on House Bill 13, which would help improve transparency in campaign financing?
I guess I'll kick it off if no one else wants to. You know, we've been talking about campaign financing and transparency. I hate to use a reference to a colleague of ours from the General Assembly, but you know, in last year, became quite aware that there was a $61 million scheme out there that certainly dirtied and tarnished a lot of hard work from a lot of people, especially those that are on this video right now, trying to save a Perry nuclear power plant as well as the Davis Spessy. I think we need transparency. I think people demand it. They want to know where that money is coming from. They want to know where our allegiance is. And until we get that, we're going to continue to raise questions, because it's not the good things that get brought up to everyone's attention. It's when you have a scandal, and that's what gets everyone's attention.
I guess I'll add on, since everyone else has been quiet. House Bill 13 is Diane Grandella, who's a regional representative, introduced it. And I think transparency is good. I agree that some of the elements that occurred last year, the unfortunate events, would have been more clear, or maybe even have been avoided had we had that kind of transparency at the time. So I'm supportive of the bill. I will likely jump on as a co-sponsor as it goes through. I believe it's had its first hearing in the Government Oversight Committee, and look forward to making sure we tailor it so it achieves its objectives.
I would add also that, of course, the bill is in the House, as Jamie just mentioned, so it hasn't hit the Senate yet, and we'll certainly look forward to taking a look as it gets voted, I assume, out of committee and through the House. Transparency is always good. I'm not going to judge the individual components of that bill yet, since we really haven't taken a look at it in the Senate.
Also, to comment on it, I think, as Senator Yuko said, I think that, you know, we really saw the worst that could happen in terms of campaign financing regarding the passage of House Bill 6. Well, we're quietly, or not quietly, but I guess expeditiously cleaning up some of the components of that particular bill. Partial repeal, a lot of people feel needs a total repeal. But again, I think the you know, from my previous service in the legislature and now my service now, it seems that the money that's involved in the system is actually accelerated. Too many special interests, I think, are able to influence the passage of legislation due to campaign contributions. And, you know, the least we can do is make them transparent. Most of the money with Generation Now, which was the vehicle that funded all the irregularities that happened with House Bill 6, this was unreported money. Nobody knows where this money came from. So first of all, I think, you know, any way we can limit campaign contributions, which we do right now, there's a limit, I think, of about $13,000 per cycle, but also the transparency as to where that money has come from, and the public has got to get involved. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes the public doesn't seem to care that much about this, and I think they have to be more aware and more understanding of how a lot of times it's not really the people's government, it's the special interest government. So hopefully the citizens will step more up to the plate and demand a little bit more accountability and transparency in this area.
Okay, with the state budget currently under review, what components are you suggesting or supporting that would have a direct impact on Lake County businesses?
Well, I'll take a shot at this. So first of all, we just passed the transportation bill, which was a rather large bill, you know, over $8 billion over 2 years. And Lake Tran actually will be the beneficiary of a lot of the dollars that the legislature threw back into the transportation bill for public transportation. And that one is awaiting the governor's signature. In terms of the new bill, you know, of course, the bill starts, the budget bill starts in the House, and it has not come over to the Senate yet. Probably within 3 or 4 weeks, we'll get something. You know, we're already looking at, in anticipation of getting the House bill, a number of projects throughout the 18th Senate District, inclusive of Lake County, certainly, of various projects that various entities are all asking us to put amendments in to include in that. So we haven't rationalized those yet, again, because we're doing it in anticipation of getting the House bill. We'll obviously wait and see what's in the House bill to see if we need to add things or you know, add issues or projects, or add dollars to specific projects.
Yeah, if I might add something to do with the transportation budget, we accomplished 3 things, and which is our main goal, I think, for all of us. Number one was we had the gasoline tax 2 years ago, which we thought would generate a lot of money for roads, infrastructure, water lines, sewer lines, bridges, etc. And of course, with the pandemic, we kind of lost a lot of that money. So with this new budget, we allocated money for road work, construction, bridges, water line and sewer line work, which is so desperately needed, especially here in Northeast Ohio. As Senator Cirino alluded to, finding the funding for public transportation. The governor was not a little bit mean-spirited when he introduced his budget, and I left me perplexed as to what he was thinking. We were able to put that money back, though, because we need it. We need it for our seniors, for our students, people with disabilities, our businesses, and our poor communities. And I think we did just that. And the third component is, instead of Ohio waiting for something to happen and then react to it, we set aside money to make sure that we have charging stations, because we are going to turn it to a generation of electric vehicles before we know it. The federal government has already committed to that. We've got a big plant in Youngstown being built right now to do electric pickup trucks. And it's just the beginning. We have already several vehicles that are electric vehicles, and we don't have enough charging stations in Ohio. So instead of waiting for something bad to happen, we're being proactive and getting ahead of the ballgame. I'm kind of proud of that fact.
Hey, gentlemen, you've all been strong supporters of educational funding and reform, specifically how the Fair School Funding Plan might improve school funding, how it affects taxpayers, and also the bill that was introduced by Senator Cirino regarding education that would impact Lakeland and Auburn Career Center. You address some of these educational initiatives.
Yes, sure, Elfie. Since you mentioned my bill, the bill was introduced. It's Senate Bill 135, and I introduced it a week ago. And it's a very innovative and bold plan for both reforming higher education in Ohio, as well as encouraging greater workforce development programs and cooperations so that we can meet these the tremendous demand and shortfall in demand jobs in the state of Ohio. We talked a little bit earlier about the Lake County manufacturing situation. Clearly across the board, and I see this throughout the district, certainly not just in Lake County, businesses want to expand and they want to recover from COVID, but they're having a tremendous difficulty finding the numbers of people and the people who are properly trained coming out of our various educational institutions. So my bill, which got great coverage in the media across the state, except in Lake County for some reason, but I'm not sure.
That happens, Jerry.
It does happen, but because Lakeland Community College and Auburn Career Center will be great beneficiaries under my bill. And in the keynote part of the bill, and I'll just mention this one part, is called the Second Chance Voucher Program, which allows for some level of financial support for students who start in a four-year college program and don't graduate. And many thousands don't graduate from these programs, even in the 6-year period that they're given. This will allow students to recoup some of the tuition that they have paid during that time that they were in the four-year school, and apply that to a community college program or some sort of certification or something in the trades that will give them into a career so they can help us meet these in-demand job requirements here. So please look up Senate Bill 135. I think we're going to see some broad bipartisan support for this bill. And there's a lot of issues that this bill will fix.
Knowing Roger Susser like I do, he probably has already called everybody in Lake County, Jerry. So he's done a great job advocating for that program.
I think so. Thanks.
And I think Representative Callender and I, we both serve on the Finance Committee, and actually we're both members of the 5-member subcommittee on primary and secondary education. So along with the budget, we're hearing proposed House Bill 1, which is it was House Bill 305. It was the John Patterson, Bob Cupp bill to deal with the formula. We've got school districts in Ohio that really none of them are on the formula. They're either on a cap or a guarantee. So this is to address that particular issue and bring that. And it's going to be a long journey because it really needs to be funded over 4 to 6 years. But, and the discussion now is taking place. Should this become part of the budget or should this be standalone? So that is in progress right now. The interesting thing is that from my perspective, I never saw so many elements of the educational community that have bought into this. They're all on the same page. They're supportive, whether it's the superintendents, the teachers unions, the school boards associations, the ESCs, to some degree, even the community ed choice schools are supportive of this. So, hopefully we can move past an issue that's really been hanging over Ohio for the last 25 years since the Roth decision. The other thing is Jamie and I both have proposed an amendment into the budget in conjunction with a request from Alliance Working Together, Roger Suster's manufacturing group, to fund a STEM education program in a 6-county Northeast Ohio area. And we're hopeful that when the substitute bill comes back from leadership sometime in mid-April or second week of April, that we'll have some success in that particular area. So we're trying to address these. And I think all of us take the position that we want to make sure that whatever formula we come up with, whatever end result we have, is fair to Lake County school districts, because it's always tough to put together something that everybody in 612 school districts in Ohio is satisfied with. There's a lot of variances, and so it's tough work, but that is going on right now. I think the other thing that I specifically would like to look at is property tax reform. I think we've gotten into a situation sometimes where we have adversarial relationships that develop between school district taxpayers and their school districts. So I think we need to make the property tax system a little bit more understandable, a little bit fairer, with the understanding that it's going to be necessary to underwrite the cost of a lot of the public services that our civilization demands.
Representative Callender, maybe if you closing remarks before
Thank
we
you.
move on to our federal representatives.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The bill that was referred to several times, that was Patterson last time, House Bill 305, is House Bill 1. So it's the #1 priority of the House. And the Speaker asked me, Speaker Cupp asked me if I would carry it for him. And so it's, my conditions were a couple. One, that the school choice options be protected. 2, that it be affordable, and that we not have to have a tax increase in order to implement it. At this point, our subcommittee, again, Lake County has 2 of the 5 representatives, which is pretty impressive. We have been working through those issues, and I think have done a good job of getting there. Look for a substitute bill that accomplishes those goals to come out in 2 weeks. I think Lake County will be very happy with it. I think some of the job training dollars, career tech, and STEM projects will be included in that bill, and that will be the vehicle for about 2 weeks, the second and third week of April, and then I'm hoping to see it merged into the budget bill before it goes to the Senate. So for our senators, we'll be looking for support for that. I know, Kenny, Senator Yuko, you've certainly committed publicly to be very, very active in helping, and Senator Cirino and I, we've had a lot of discussions, and hopefully we'll take care of the financial issues so you're comfortable with supporting it as well. But this is a big deal. This is the first major change in our school funding program in Ohio since the 1940s. It is a major overhaul, looking at the actual cost and components of providing an education, coupled with accountability, and funding at a level that is predictable, transparent, and meets the needs of all students of Ohio. It's a fairly large undertaking. It's been in the works for 4 years, and I think we actually have a chance to get this through. As far as businesses go, it's going to be very helpful for, again, the career tech, the STEM education, and a lot of our local manufacturing will benefit, not just from the fact that we're turning out educated and skilled workforce for them, but also as a place for the business owners, a school system that they're excited to send their children to. So that's been my project so far this year, and pretty excited to see it moving along.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you, and we'll be back with you at 9:15. At this time, we're very pleased to have U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown join us. Senator Sherrod Brown's been a lifelong Ohioan. He serves as chairman of the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. He also serves on the Finance Committee, the Agriculture Committee, and is the longest serving Ohioan on the Veteran Affairs Committee. Joining us shortly also will be U.S. Congressman David Joyce, who is also a lifelong Ohioan. And prior to serving in Congress, Congressman Joyce was the Geauga County prosecuting attorney. As a congressman, he serves on the House Committee on Appropriations, which is the committee responsible for scrutinizing federal spending and determining how our tax dollars are spent. He also sits on the Financial Services and General Government Subcommittee on Interior, Environment, and related agencies. Okay, Senator Brown.
Ready, thank you. And thank you. And I appreciate the chance to, I heard Jamie speaking. I don't know if Jerry, I suppose Jerry and Kenny did too. And that's an honor to follow them. And at least for I guess they're coming back in 9:15. So I will be brief, but Superintendent Roman, thank you. It's great to be with all of you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for continuing to do this. And next year, later this year, we'll be doing a lot of these things in person, I assume. So I'm still in Washington. We're finishing up. I'm driving home today. I haven't been in an airplane for a year. I'm going to fly back to Washington 2 weeks from now. So we're planning. So as things open up, my wife just got vaccinated, her second vaccine this week. So we're time to see grandkids and all that. And I know that what that means to so many of you on this call, whether you're in Wickliffe or Madison or Willowick or Painesville or wherever you are. So thank you. Let me talk about the American Rescue Plan. We passed that bill after pretty much an 18-hour vote-a-thon all night. We passed it on Saturday, March 6th, 2 months to the day after the attack on the Capitol. It was, I had said to reporters I was leaving the building, it was the best day of my career. What we did by putting shots in arms and money in people's pockets and workers back in jobs, and maybe most importantly, next to the vaccine, of course, is getting kids back in schools. I know that Lake County schools, like everywhere, have had a huge challenge. Some of you have been able to open more than others, and it's that's sort of checkered all over the state that way. But we know how important all of that is. The number one thing we need to do is to get people, as we vaccinate, to get people back to work. But the success of the vaccinations and the fact that we continue to wear masks, we continue to do social distancing, whether it's 3 feet in schools or the social distancing we do everywhere, in mask wearing in stores and all that. You may remember that the president on January 20th said 100 million, his goal was 100 million vaccines in the first 100 days, a million shots a day. We have already got to the million earlier this week. We are now doing, all of us in this country, hospital workers in Lake County and public officials and community activists and all, we are now doing over, in some days, as many as 2.5 million. We're averaging well over 2 million a day. And that will get us to a point where we will be able to open up this economy, and I think more quickly than people thought we would, including I thought we would. And I think that then President Trump thought we would, or President Biden thought we would. So that's all obviously good news. As part of the American Rescue Plan, 5 million Ohioans are getting a $1,400 stimulus check. More than 2 million Ohio families are going to get an expanded child tax credit. 92% of children in this state will get a tax credit. In some cases refundable, other cases, but it's real money. A tax credit as a result of this provision, this earned income tax provision and child tax credit. The earned income tax provision, as you know, I see David on there. Congressman Joyce, how are you, sir? The earned income tax credit has been around for a long time. And it's something that I worked on with a lot of local businesses local accountants to get people to sign up, rewarding work. The child tax credit will help us dramatically cut the rate of poverty and the child poverty in this country, and how important that is. And equally as importantly, what we're able to do to help small businesses. I've been speaking to mayors, Republicans and Democratic mayors around the state and others. Some of the dollars, I was talking to a Republican mayor on the other end of the state, Northwest Ohio, the other part of the state, and who told me that she's going to use a significant number of dollars. She has not had as many layoffs as some other cities and counties. She was a county commissioner, not a mayor, I'm sorry. And she talked about using some of those dollars that come in to help local small businesses. I mean, we have part of the PPP program will provide new community navigators to help businesses, a new hotline, restarting the successful program begun in the last administration under Secretary Mnuchin and now under Secretary Janet Yellen, Secretary of Treasury, to make sure small businesses get access to capital. We restarted the state small business credit initiative. We know that the companies that, unfortunately last year with the initial rollout that came out of Congress, the problem in part was the big restaurant chains were getting the money because they had the wherewithal to apply for it quickly. The small little mom and pop stores and restaurants in places like Wickliffe and Willowick and Willoughby and Painesville, Madison, and all over, we're not getting the same access. And we actually set this up this last round. The past just 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, was set up that small business really would sort of get first bite. Let me talk about one other issue. As Superintendent Roman said, I am the new chair of the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. This committee has always been referred to by the media and by senators and people that work around here as the Banking Committee or the Senate Banking Committee. in banking, it's always been way too much about banks and Wall Street and not nearly enough about housing and not nearly enough about the rest of the title urban affairs, which also includes things like Lake Tran. I mean, one of the things we scaled up in this program, this plan, the American Rescue Act, was to make sure that that the public transit, whether it's Cleveland or whether it's Lake Tran, got the kind of help it needed because their ridership's down, their costs are up to reconfigure buses and do all the things they had to do. They had many more absences because of exposure to the virus, all that. So this focus, the focus of this committee will be a lot on housing. We know there are affordable housing shortages everywhere. We know that before the pandemic, a quarter of renters in this country paid more than half their income in housing. So one thing goes wrong in their lives, their kid gets sick, their car breaks down, they too often get evicted. So we provide with the Trump administration and then followed the Biden administration, put a moratorium on evictions, but that also squeezes landlords. We understand that they weren't getting help, and how are they paying their mortgage? How are they doing upkeep? They can't do upkeep when there's all the problems that came out of that. So the rescue plan provided $25 billion to help people with back rent and help people with foreclosure abeyance, if you will, forbearance. So all of those things. The next plan is what we do with infrastructure. You may remember 4 years ago, President Trump said we're going to do $1.5 trillion infrastructure plan. That went by the wayside. We've got to get serious about that. And it's not just roads and bridges, it's housing, it's broadband, it's all the kinds of, it's 21st century infrastructure. And we know how important that is and how our country has, the physical structure has decayed. You can look at any survey from Chamber of Commerce surveys or anybody else, how we've really fallen so far behind on infrastructure. So that's going to be a big part of this. And last point, some will say this is partisan, but it's not. It's really not up to Mitch McConnell and Republican House and Senate members to decide whether something's partisan. It's up to the public. And 63% of Trump voters, for instance, working class Trump voters, said that they liked the Biden plan, the American Rescue Plan. So it may be partisan in Washington, but it's not partisan in Wickliffe, and it's not partisan in Wade Hill, and it's not partisan in Painesville, because the public overwhelmingly in both parties support this plan because it gets the country going in the right direction. Last point, I've already said that, my last point now for real. I was speaking with Jay Powell, who I talk to regularly, the chair of the Federal Reserve, and he was in our committee this week, and I talked to him earlier. He is very optimistic about this economy taking off, and he is recommended, he's a Trump nominee, so he's a Republican. Ben Bernanke, the former Fed chair 2 people ago, is a Republican. I talked to him regularly. Janet Yellen, who is now the Secretary of the Treasury, was the Obama appointee chair of the Federal Reserve. All 3 of them thought the American Rescue Plan, they don't comment specifically on legislation, chairs of the Federal Reserve, but he thought injecting those kinds of dollars, especially when interest rates are low. He pointed out that he or Janet Yellen in our committee, I can't remember which, pointed out that the percentage of while our national debt has grown, the interest on that debt is not, the interest as a percentage of GDP on that debt has not grown. With interest rates low for at least the next 2 or 3 years, they will say, we're going to grow into this and grow out of that in many ways. But they predict a very strong economy starting probably the next quarter. We're about to enter the second quarter. We'll get better, but by the 3rd and 4th quarter into next year, partly because of the Recovery Act, partly because of pent-up demand, partly because we paid so much attention to small business in this most recent Recovery Act. So if I'm supposed to take questions, I will, or if David Joyce is talking next, and whatever you decide, Superintendent Roman. So
I think we'll turn it over to Congressman David Joyce. We did introduce you earlier, Congressman, with the committees that you serve on and your service to Geauga County as the prosecutor for so many years. We know you're a strong proponent of Lake County and Lake Erie specifically, and the issues addressing Lake Erie. What would you like to comment on?
Well, thank you very much. And I think Good morning, Sherrod. And you'd think after a
That
year,
Lake County, is that like Mount Chardon behind you? What the hell?
I think he's riding a horse. Are you riding a
It's like he's
horse?
moving up and down. I can't figure out what he's doing. Where is he?
I was just going to say, you would think after a year I'd have this down, right? You know, and I just vary it up because, you know, who the hell wants to see the inside of my office? So I tried to change it and I have it hanging above me. And every time I touch the screen, it would waggle back and forth. And that's exactly what I thought. This looks like I'm riding a horse on the range. It's
You know,
not.
Superintendent Roman, David's not new to this business, and I like David. We don't vote the same a lot, but I like him. But I would think he would know not to show us saying he's in Wyoming on vacation now with that background. I think he would know. Like you said, riding, he really doesn't think he's riding a horse. It was a little distracting trying to talk, seeing this guy, this cowboy David Joyce riding along the mountain trail, for gosh sake. I'm sorry, David.
Well, one of the advantages of being the ranking member on Interior, you get to visit the national parks. This one happens to be the Grand Teton behind us. And so I throw them in every now and then just to mix it up a little bit because we're all so used to seeing the inside of our office or inside of our house with having been stuck the last year. But thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I certainly appreciate the overview that Senator Brown has given us. I say that he and Senator Portman and my good friend Marcy Capter have all, and most of the Ohio delegation have all been very helpful in Great Lakes issues in trying to protect and preserve what we all believe to be a national treasure. You know, I don't know, maybe it's just being around here long enough, or maybe I stick it to McCarthy long enough. I also got stuck on the committee for ethics this year and the committee for modernization. They seem to be in conflict, but you know, I look forward to trying to make this place work better for all of you. You know, Sherrod has certainly done a wonderful job of laying out what was in the package. I want you to know why I voted against it, because there was $1 trillion still sitting on the sideline from the bipartisan bill that we have done together. And, you know, I think with $58 billion there, it's still left to be spent for state and local governments. $280 billion was in the PPP program, $59 billion for schools, $172 billion for unemployment insurance that hadn't been spent. $52 billion for stimulus checks, $33 billion for food stamps, $29 billion for agriculture, and $10 billion for child care and developmental block grants. That's a lot of money. I mean, when I went to accounting before I went to law school, we hardly used the B word, billions. And here we've used trillions more in the last 18 months than I have ever heard. And those are staggering numbers. And God bless, the majority has the ability to fashion these bills, and they've done what they, and I certainly hope it does get back and help everyone at home. And we want to make sure that we can help all of you at home access these funds and make sure that you can do the things that are necessary to fill those holes. The thought of, you know, who thought when we started doing this a year ago, you know, we all got together and figuring we're in this for maybe 6 weeks, 3 months. And here we are a year later, we're still digging our way out of it. But I'd like to think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'd like to think that thanks to the vaccinations that we're starting to get down to, I think by the end of the month, if I read it correctly, that Governor DeWine said even 16-year-olds can get it. So they've pretty much made it available to everyone who is going to be necessary or needs to get it for medical reasons. And it's important that we continue to do that and work our way through this as a country. I really enjoy answering the questions here because they're always spirited. So I will continue to go on. You know how to ask me. And in the meantime, let's if there's people in the crowd who want to ask some questions, Superintendent, let it rip.
Can't hear you. You're on mute, Superintendent. Okay.
Still muted.
Still can't hear you. Listen,
All right, you think I would have figured this out by now too, but okay.
Are you?
So
Oh,
we're going to
I would ask maybe like the first question.
okay, we'll ask one question for both representatives and Congressman and Senator. Would you support an amendment to the Equality Act that would protect clergy and churches from legal action?
Should we define legal action? I mean, all legal.
Well, the question that came in felt that what is written in the new act violates the First amendment and is contrary to the 1993 Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Any?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't, that was the same argument used against civil rights. And that there should be all these exemptions, religious or non-religious. And I'm a person of faith. My Christian faith is important to me, but that doesn't give me a right to discriminate against people because they're Black or because they're female or because they are gay or because they're transgender. So I think fundamentally we have a legal system that protects people as it should, including protects freedom of religion, which I strongly support. But I don't think you exempt people in just because of that allows anybody to discriminate against people based on race or gender or sexual orientation. I know not everybody in this call agrees with that.
Well, I certainly didn't agree with the fact that under the Affordable Care Act, religious organizations like nuns were forced to provide for abortions. But, I do think that we need to, allow just the ability to be free from restriction.
And Elfie, if I could just add to that, to Congressman Joyce's allusion to the Little Sisters of the Poor, who were the subject of Supreme Court decision, and they have roots in Ohio, and were started in Cincinnati and came to Cleveland, serving the poorest of the poor, and ended up having to defend themselves for the last 8 years. Because they were challenged with the prospect of millions of dollars in fines, simply because they did not want to cooperate with something that they viewed as religiously, a problem for them and contrary to their views. So the First Amendment rights, cannot force people to take on certain speech, certainly. And the Supreme Court, I think it was a 7-2 decision, supported them. The sisters are back in court again with a couple of errant states who are still challenging this, and religiously held personal beliefs should be sacrosanct, and as they are, I believe, enshrined in our Constitution.
Okay, gentlemen, I think we have all of our local and state and federal representatives on now. One of the questions that was posed for all representatives was about the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. And if that happens to be repealed, what protections would you put in place to continue to protect the firearms industry? Anybody?
I'm not sure I understood what the question is. I do want to mention that in the chat box, and I appreciate Ms. Prispanen speaking out, that the ACA did not require nuns to support abortion. It required their health insurance cover contraception. That's a big, big difference, I would add, to that. So, but I thought this discussion was about economic development in Lake County, but there was one question I see on this too from Andy Rose about latest relief of getting funds to townships. And I know Tim Ryan's interested in this. I think David's interested in this. And we want to make sure that one of the things that we all did, I assume that every elected official on this call had a lot of conversations with other elected officials around the state with the first act that David pointed out was unanimous in the Senate and close to unanimous in the House, only 3 or 4 no's, I think. But the complaint, people liked it mostly. It was a well-done bill. It was also done more quickly, and it was bigger than anything Congress had ever done because we had to respond quickly, as David said. But we were hearing from people. I heard 2 requests from county officials around the state and from mayors in all my calls through calendar 2020. And that is the next bill we need money directly to us, not to allow the state to get it and skim off money. I'm not critical of DeWine, but it's just what governors do. Skim off money that was supposed to go to local communities. And second, we want flexibility on how to spend this money. The Lake County commissioners know more than I do about, or the mayor of Wickliffe knows more than I do about spending money here and what the needs are. So the second bill, I took those concerns back And the bill we wrote in January and that passed 2 weeks ago gives all, nothing's unlimited, but gives great flexibility in local communities, and the money goes directly. And one of the things we want, I've talked to the Secretary of the Treasury about this, Janet Yellen, is the money that townships get support too. I mean, based on population, township's going to get less than, Painesville Township's going to get less than the city of Painesville because it's smaller, but all of those should be factored in, but townships need to get direct help in this too.
And I think Sherrod will agree that one of the problems we had in those first ones that we fashioned out, again, thinking that we would be in 3 to 6 months tops, was that we put the end dates for some of this stuff at the end of the calendar year. And here we go, we're having townships and cities and villages and counties having to spend that money because we're coming up a hard deadline of 12/31. And you got to allow flexibility for them to get into the next year, because obviously it wasn't meant to just try to spend it as fast as they could just because they had it. And by the way, I don't know of anyone who called and volunteered to return the money. I think they found ways for it to be spent.
But David's right. But you did hear county officials and mayors saying, that the CARES Act back in March. Again, we all take responsibility because we all wrote it, but we did it quickly. That they had money at the end of the year and they could only spend it in certain things. And a lot of counties and cities lost huge revenues. They didn't want to lay off police and fire, but the bill didn't allow them to. The bill said you have to spend it on COVID stuff. Well, that interpretation was too difficult. So that's why the flexibility in the new bill. John, Superintendent, I apologize. I've got a 9:30. I got to get off. But thank you all. Good to see all of you as local officials, and David and all. And Dan, good to see you again, buddy. And and we'll talk again. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Now we are able to extend our sessions today a little bit till about 9:40. So as Senator Brown mentioned, the focus of our legislative panel today was to be on economic development. So how about some final comments from each of you regarding the economic development and future of Lake County?
Well, I'll kick it off. I think we've come a long way in recognizing the fact that the state has an obligation to fix things. The governor came up across with his H2 Ohio program 2 years ago to try to invest into the Great Lakes area and Lake Erie. I think Lake County will be a tremendous beneficiary of that. I know I've been working really hard with Jobs Ohio and Team NEO to make sure we have the opportunity for economic development opportunities. And I think Lake County has done a great job of taking advantage of that. We're listening to people like Ron Suster, who talks about the fact that, not every college or every kid's going to go to college, and not every college graduate is going to become a doctor or a scientist. And there's other avenues that need education, and we're putting things, money and energy into those conversations now. And I think we've come a long way. We've got a long way to go. I still think we need to take a little bit more politics and put more common sense into the work we do, but we'll get there. And before I close, I just want to say to Ron Young, Ron, we're keeping you in our thoughts and prayers, my friend, and good luck to you. And thank you for having me this morning, Elfie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Elfie, if I could just add a couple comments. I think, it's great. I know last year when we were dealing with the initial part, when I was commissioner with John Hamercheck, we did not know what to expect for the balance of 2020. And we started looking at ways to reduce spending and to try to, maximize what we can get out of the current services that we had. And things turned out better than we expected. And I think we're seeing that around the state to some extent. But the one issue, and I think too, it's what I've seen in my long 3 months as a state senator now. But I think Kenny would agree with me that the words economic development are echoing throughout the halls of the State House between both parties. Okay, and I've talked with members of the other party in the Senate, and we may disagree on a bunch of things, but I think when it comes to economic development, everybody seems to have those two words in their vocabulary, and I think that's going to really bode well for programs that are going to be aggressive. And my final comment is, the biggest impact on our economy in Ohio is the vaccines. And let's remember You can take whatever position you would like to take about the president. I'm sorry, Senator Brown is not on the call at this point, but let's remember that we talk about millions and millions of shots in arms right now. We wouldn't have that vaccine without Operation Warp Speed, which was a great public and private initiative. And again, you could disagree with the former president on any number of things, but let's give credit where credit is due. We wouldn't be doing shots in arms, because it's never happened this fast before in history, if we didn't have Operation Warp Speed. Thank you.
If I may, this past year has been a year and 3 weeks now, a year and 2 weeks, has been like no other in American history. We've seen businesses shut down. We've seen entire industries decimated. We've seen political frustration from both sides. We've seen bullying and name calling and all kinds of things over the last year. However, that has placed us at the precipice of a potential step towards greatness. Whether you like it or don't, the federal government has put a tremendous amount of money into the economy, much of it going towards business, education, and social needs. Elizabeth, I saw your question, so we'll kind of address that in here. We have the opportunity with the folks that are on this call right now to work together to really improve everything about Lake County, bringing in new businesses, helping those that are there. We can do that through working on our tax structure, quality of life issues, and having a quality education system. By working with those three and using this once in a lifetime opportunity of all the extra funds we have, we can transition, whether it's a new school funding system, whether it's a shift towards some of the career tech programming, an emphasis on STEM, moving away from the attitude of every child has to go to college and towards every child needs to be prepared to have a good and happy life. This is a chance for us to work together. And as I look at the folks of both parties on this call, I think we're doing that. All of us talk to each other regularly. Representative Troy mentioned that he and I are on a couple of committees together. We spend hundreds of hours more than I meant to spend with you, Dan, no offense. but we're all working together for Lake County. And I think all working together, the AWT has done a great job as an organization to help pull us together. Many of us were on a call with them yesterday as well. And that's what it's going to take. So if we can keep that spirit moving forward, we can take these resources that are literally once in a lifetime, and we can utilize them and coordinate them to do the most good in transitioning our economy. We have a chance for not just Lake County, but Northeast Ohio to really emerge from this as a national leader in manufacturing, in education, in quality of life. Go back to some of the lakefront development items. These are the things that are going to let us move forward into the next century, into the remainder of this century, in a leadership position statewide and nationally. So I want to thank the folks that are the other elected officials that are here for being part of a great team. It's kind of exciting to I think everybody on this call we talked with very regularly, and it's exciting. So as my closing, I just want to say thank you to them and tell the folks of Lake County that are on the call that your elected officials, despite our partisan differences, are working together to move us forward.
I'd like to follow after Jamie because I share his excitement. I know that every locality, every county, every state is going to recover from COVID-19 and its impact differently, but I think that Lake County is really well positioned to come back strong. I started with the pandemic and the shutdown going to a ribbon cutting in downtown Willoughby for Westall's, named after Dr. Westall Willoughby, the person for whom the city was named. And 2 days later, this brand new business had to shut down, like so many others. Just last month, I got to go to the 1-year anniversary of Westall's. They survived. And it was really exciting to see that business that probably opened at the worst possible time managed to come back with a lot of help from the state, from the county, from the federal government, and mostly from its founders and the hard work they put in to maintain over that 1 year where they certainly were not making money. And that's really been the struggle, not just for Willoughby, not just for Lake County, but all of Ohio. But because of the hard work of so many people on this call, I think that Lake County is in an exciting time and place. I look at the Lake County Captains. When 40 minor league teams were closed down by Major League Baseball, we weren't shut down. We were promoted to Advanced A, which means a higher level of ball, more exciting games and players. It's going to position East Lake to live up to its name, the jewel of Lake County. And as we worked in distributing CARES Act funds, which our senators and Congress people voted for, I was interested to see all the different Lake County charities that were taking advantage of the money and that Commissioner Hammercheck was working to allocate. And on that list was Willow Praise Church, where Congressman Joyce had sent his volunteers to help myself and our newly elected treasurer, Mike Zurin, that's his church, to volunteer and distribute not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands of meals to people in need. So it really showed me how county, state, and local government and elected officials had come together from both parties to not just survive the pandemic, but to come back. And I hope that we're going to see most of our businesses like Westall survive and come back. But even for those that don't, I think that we're in an opportunity now to have a moment of economic development where new businesses are going to keep coming because of the name, Lake County. We are blessed with the single greatest asset that any county in the state of Ohio has. Congressman Joyce has worked very hard to preserve our Great Lake, but now I think is the time when we're finally going to see it develop and live up to its potential. Lake County is not just going to be the great place that it is today. It is going to be a destination going forward. And I think that everyone is going to look back at 2021, 2022, 2023 and say, that was really the moment, not just when we recovered, but when we became a truly great community where everyone wants to live, work, raise a family, retire, and even tour. I could not have become a commissioner at a more exciting time, and it's really an honor to be here with President Hammercheck, Congressman Joyce, Senator Cirino, Representatives Callender, Troy, and Senator Yuko, because I know we're all going to be working together to take us to that future.
Elfie, and I think that, it is imperative we all work together. And that's why I've really stressed, and I know, Jamie might not want to spend that much time with me, but I think it's essential that, both parties really work together. I really think, obviously, we need to make sure that everything we do is more fact-based. Unfortunately, there's so much misinformation that gets out there. And I get a little tired of all the fighting that goes on over these COVID issues. I mean, we just went through it this week on the House floor, with an override of the governor's veto on health orders. I mean, I didn't support the override. I thought, whatever missteps you may have thought he took, he was trying to save lives in Ohio. And I think, I give him credit for that. And God knows where we would be without a lot of those preventative measures and all that. But, I think we're doing our part here using that federal money. In finance yesterday morning, we do have a couple of other additional bills in front of the finance committee, moving some more of that federal money to additional grants for our bars, our restaurants, and especially the lodging industry. That is an industry that has really been hard hit in the state of Ohio by the pandemic. And indoor entertainment venues. And if Ben Stein is on the, if Neil Stein is on the call, I did bring up in committee that can we amend that to also include outdoor venues, outdoor entertainment venues, because obviously the impact on things like Vintage Ohio and Farm Park and some of the other programs in Ohio, we certainly will try and get that included. But, I agree with Jamie that, the massive amount of federal money that's going to come in. And this time around, there's not as many strings attached. It doesn't have to be spent as much on COVID-related expenses. It has to be spent to bring back the economy and all that. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I mean, I kind of remember the fact when Ray Sines and I were maybe trying to find $200,000 somewhere to try and patch ourselves so that we could finish the year with a balanced budget. And I see that commissioners are going to get $44 million, which is like about a free gift of 1 year's budget to address some of these. But I think you know, it's imperative that we all spend this money wisely, that we make the right investment on this, because it is a great opportunity. Obviously, it's putting our federal government a lot more deeper into debt, but that is what it is, and the dollars are there. So I just think we need to, you know, concentrate more on the facts, listen to the experts, whether that's in medical, the field, in the manufacturing field, in the educational field, and kind of go along with their advice, and kind of downplay or park the partisanship outside the door, and get some of these things done. So certainly I'm committed, you know, to working with folks, regardless of what their political religion is, to get this job done.
I'd like to echo and amplify what Representative Callender had mentioned. Stability of government, it's essential for economic development. What we propose, we perform. As an example, Senator Cirino, then Commissioner Cirino, we proposed a $1.5 million infrastructure program for our local municipalities. When COVID hit, we stayed true to that. Those dollars were best spent, best invested by the local leadership. That was huge. A steady hand on the controls. We made no radical moves right, no radical moves left. For example, then Commissioner Troy, he was a great mentor for me, introducing me to the County Commissioners Association, where I now serve on the executive board. NOACA, the Northeast Area-Wide Coordinating Agency, where I've earned the position of first vice president. Those types of examples of stability are essential for success. Congressman Joyce, he actually takes our phone calls. He listens. He comes on site and invests himself in the things that are important to us. Senator Yuko takes our Lake County very seriously and performs. And I'll just say, John Pletschnik, he represents the next generation of leadership. And that's what we need to be doing, is we need to be bringing up and uplifting our younger, more inventive, if you will. Now, back in our day, I'd like to say we were pretty creative and we've got a lot of experience, but we need to also uplift the people who are coming and following on behind us. You know, we've got to have that farm team, and I'd like to say that Commissioner Pletschnik is doing a fine job as commissioner. So I think that's very important, that we show stability, and all of these programs that you're seeing, they come from having a stable government. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Oh, all right. You're back in the saddle. Okay.
I can say all right. No, I just want to finish up by saying what a pleasure it is to work with all of the people on the screen and all the people throughout the district. I just want to take a little issue with Jamie that I do think we had a civil war and some other things in our nation's background. So when you talk about this pandemic, it's horrible. But you know what? It shows the resolve of the American people to get through it as a country, you know, and remind each other as friends and countrymen that's important work that's left ahead here in rebuilding our economy and getting us back where we were pre-pandemic. And I think everybody on this screen and everybody on this team and everybody on this call working together can help do that for Lake County and help do that to bring Northeastern Ohio together. I chuckled when John said that, you know, I actually show up. That's my job. And I take it seriously because, you know, at the end of the day, with all the craziness in DC, I look forward to coming home to Northeast Ohio. It's the greatest place in the nation as far as I'm concerned. It's one of our best kept secrets. And, you know, when you think about all the problems other parts of the country have, we've got a lot of great things going for us, and it'll continue to get better as we all work together. So thank you all for letting me be here today. God bless you all, and enjoy this last view of the Grand Tetons.
Gentlemen, thank you all for being here today and sharing your insights and perspectives with us, and particularly the comments about how you are all working together across party lines to advance Lake County to continue to be the best place in Ohio to live, work, and play. Thanks. And Sarah, any closing remarks?
Yes. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. Without all of you, Lake County would not be what we are. I'm excited to be a part of that generation that can help take things and move things forward. With that being said, the Lake County Development Council is under a full rebrand and relaunch this year. Due to COVID, it gave my board and myself a very good opportunity to kind of get our wheels spinning and take our development council in the direction that we want to see it. So we're very excited for this upcoming year. If you are not a member of our organization, please consider joining us. We like to raise awareness and promote what's going on in the county, especially the economic development. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you for making it a smooth virtual event, the first time the Lake County Development Council has ever hosted the legislative breakfast virtually. And Elfie, thank you very much for stepping in. You did a wonderful job. So we appreciate you all, and we hope to see you next year in person. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.